Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tvam Namami. Nithyanandam, welcome to another episode of Nithyananda Leelas, and today I have a lovely guest, Ms. Ma Usha K from the beautiful coastal town of Mangalore, India, in Karnataka. And she is one of the first I've had on who's a brand new devotee. Many people who've been on this show so far have been around Swamiji for years and years, but you literally were at the last July, so a year ago July, Inner Awakening in Varanasi, and she's already the editor of both of our magazines, Hinduism Now and Nithyananda Times. So welcome, Ma, and I'm so excited to hear about your journey.
Thank you. It was for quite some time that a very dear friend of mine, Ma Nitya Pranava, who also happens to be the mother of Ma Nitya Mahayogananda, has been trying to get me here. I would say, she really was quite persistent, almost 4 years, I would say. But I guess, you need to have a calling, to actually kind of get here. And I remember that in 2012, I think, I actually came to the ashram and I was here during Krishnashtami. And it was for the first time I actually experienced many of the powers that my friend used to talk about. So I saw levitation and many things. And at that time, I think Swamiji was doing the Gita series was going on. And I remember the next day, literally sitting here at the welcome center with my credit card, all set to pay for IA. And I sat there for almost 1.5 hours, and then somebody came and told me, we can't find the swiping machine. And it was only after that 3 years later that, because something or the other would happen and I got caught into my business world and things like that. And finally I actually got the opportunity to come in the month of July 2015. Why I say it is probably a calling, or I guess the timing needs to happen for you to come to be, to get to your master, is for me it turned out the biggest crisis I could think of to happen in my life happened at that point in time. And the interesting part is that when I was declared as legally bankrupt was when my money actually manifested for the program. So it was very interesting, but I also need to share here that what really preceded it. It was very interesting that I actually remember the date also. It was the 12th of May, 2015. I suddenly that night, or it was really the early hours of the morning, I had this dream of Swamiji doing the cosmic dance of Shiva. That is the cosmic dance of Nataraja. And I was really puzzled. I said, first of all, I couldn't understand why Swamiji was appearing as Shiva. It is a different matter that secretly he was my Ishta Devata, Shiva. And I couldn't figure out. So what I did was I called up my friend the next morning and I said, see, this is what has happened. And she said, listen, I've been telling you for so long. Now please don't ignore this message. Obviously the cosmos is trying to tell you something. Me, I decided to ignore it. 2 days later, the catastrophe struck. And what really had happened was I had stood as guarantor to a very dear friend who was also a business partner. And we have known each other for more than 15, 20 years. And she had badly defaulted on the loan. And as a guarantor, I become liable now for the loan. So overnight, where I was very self-sufficient, I used to have that little more to take care of, some of the little luxuries I could enjoy in life was no more there for me. And I was advised by very good lawyers to transfer everything that I have to someone I trust. And so today, it happened at that moment. So I spent the next 15-20 days transferring everything that I had to someone close. But the interesting bit was I was so caught in that frenzy. The next thing was within another 10 or 12 days, Swamiji was again in my dreams, almost like persistent. In this time, he was again a Shiva, but it was Swamiji's face, and he was standing there with that beatific smile which we're so used to now, and he was just doing like this, like as if he was showing me that I had lost my way. It was some kind of a wooded area. I had lost my way. He was standing over there and he was showing me the way. And then the next morning I said, I'm not now going to ignore this. And very sheepishly I call up Manitya Pranava's husband, that is Nitish Sri Priyan, and I ask him very sheepishly, when is the next IA in Bidadi? So he says, the next IA is not in Bidadi, it's in Varanasi, and you better go there. That's the best place for you to attend. And so where I had not been willing to see that the money was sitting there, at a time of bankruptcy it just manifests itself. And the next thing I knew is I was paying off the fee for that, and actually could go for the early bird offer. So within that amount, I could even take care of my travel. Now the interesting thing was that one day before I was going for the program, there was floods in Varanasi. And my near and dear one said, my God, you cannot go to Varanasi at this time. Even the Prime Minister has cancelled his trip to the Varanasi because of the floods. And the amazing compassion of Swamiji in terms of not to lose our way. He appears in my dream for the third time. But it was very interesting because in the dream, that was the interesting bit. I suddenly saw him as a 12-year-old boy. And I couldn't figure out, why am I seeing Swamiji's face but as a 12-year-old boy? It's only when I came to the program, I obviously heard that he attained an enlightenment when he was 12 years old. And basically he was trying to, I guess, tell me, it's okay, just come, everything is fine and safe. So that's how I finally went for the program in the month of July. So that was my start of my journey. And one of the interesting things that happened at the end, that was the very last day where you shared the glimpses of which was your experiences during the program. And I had certain things to say because for me, I had not even bothered to see the meaning in the word inner awakening. I was just there. So I didn't know what to expect from the program. I had not read anything about it, nothing. I only came equipped with maybe a couple of words. One was the word Ma. Ma. Yeah. And I was very touched by it that everybody was being addressed as Ma. And of course I had this big question in my mind. I again asked Sri Nitya Priyan, if we are calling, the ladies are being called Ma, what about the men? And then he told me you can use the word Ayya. But the single most important word I came with without knowing much about it was completion. That was the only word I knew which Manitya Pranava used to use quite frequently.
Well, and with the events that had just happened to you, completion would be a very important step.
It was, but I need to share that I was already doing a lot of work on myself. So when I came into the program, I now had a word for what I was doing, which was completion. So I could actually go much further. I could go much further in the program, rather than, I was not struggling. I just plunged into the program. So on the last day when I was sharing some of my experiences, which probably took to what happened next of being in the ashram, because I had just, once I'd finished the program, I just landed home and I was just relaxing on the couch, and I get a call from Manyanatma, and she asked, Ma, what's happening? I said, I'm already missing Swamiji. She's saying, just come down, Swamiji has called you. You have to be the editor of Nithyananda Times. And I said, how can that happen? And she said, no, you just come. I said, wait, I'm just trying to take in everything, absorb everything that happened and internalizing everything. She said, what better place to be doing it than to come to the ashram? You just come. And it so happened to be a couple of days before Guru Purnima. So I landed here on I think it was July 31st, and Swamiji formally blessed me at that time to be the editor of Nithyananda Times. Actually, it started off there.
Well, and I think that's what is hard for us to grasp, is that he already sees our role in his organization. Even when he meets us, he already knows 50 years from now that we'll be, the best friend and this and that and the other thing, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah, in fact, that's what even I said to myself, because I have been constantly asked by people, oh, you have a background in journalism, and I said, no. Oh, so you've been a writer, and I said, no. Then how come you're the editor? I said, I only know this much. I enjoy reading, and I enjoy researching, and I have been a student of history. But this much I can say, Swamiji has this way of getting right into the core of you and bringing that element out which will complete you the most. That's the way I have looked at it. And I find that through Hinduism now, as well as which came to me later when I was moved into that area of the Hinduism now in the month of January of this year, and Nithyananda Times is taking more shape now. Between the two, I really find whatever work I'm doing, so much of completion happens for me through it. And I think the biggest thing that for me that happened in the IA, there was these posters of Sarvanya Pita that were put up in the hall where the program was. And I read the first sentence in the first poster, which says, the roots of Vedic civilization goes back 1,900 million years. And I look at it, I said, is that a printing mistake? I said, okay, let's drop off the zeros. Even if we are saying 19 million years, where are we? In that 1 second, or that moment, I can't call it second, anything that I had learnt as history, and I was supposed to have been, I am specialized in ancient Indian history, it just fell flat. And then at that very moment, a huge curiosity was born. If what I learnt was rubbish, then what is Vedic history? And there I was now, and that's exactly what I'm discovering through Hinduism now.
Isn't that the truth? And same with me. I thought I knew a fair amount, and when you see 1900 million years, you think, I have to start reading. I have to go faster. But that's what I found as a writer, is the completion that comes with every project. That Cosmos definitely knows what to give you next, because the process of going through it fills something in your own soul.
Absolutely. And in fact, I remember that in the month of January, I think, we were filling out the projects that we would like to do. And I remember very clearly filling out that I want to do causing and enriching. And Ma Jnanatma telling me that, Ma, I know you can cause and enrich, but I'm taking you elsewhere. And she just dragged me to Hinduism now. And I said, how am I going to do, what kind of causing and enriching is going to happen in this? And that time I remember somebody literally whispering to me and saying, Ma, with this you're enriching the whole world. I said, oh, now that's a big role.
Well, exactly. And if anyone hasn't done it already, both of these magazines are available in print and online, and they're brilliant. Like, reading them, I would never ever have known that this was this was a new field for you, because
it's a completely new field.
They flow beautifully, and I can't wait for each issue, because I'm learning. I'm like you. I'm learning so much that I had no idea about before.
And I must share something very interesting about Hinduism now, particularly. Till date, the team, we've not really had a formal meeting. And we've not had any conference calls, none of it. And it's a huge responsibility that you carry, that there is a huge group of people who trust you and who contribute month on month to the articles that, or the table of contents of articles that we want written. And Hinduism now cannot happen without the backing of the team. And it's really the whole team's effort. I just happened to be there. I remember even when Mida Maharaj asked me to take charge of the magazine, he said, we just need somebody to hold the space of the editor, and that's really the role I'm playing. And without the team which is contributing the articles, the magazine does not happen.
And but that goes hand in hand with what Swamiji has always said, that he loves working with experience-based bodies because of that. The nervous systems are so stable because of what you've gone through. And that's the thing is, you can just be the anchor that cosmos can swirl around without losing your bearings. And the other thing that we experience too in this energy field is he does come through each and every person, and so he compiles what he wants compiled. And you know, I even noticed that with the show. As a writer, I've always been behind the camera. I never had a desire to be out front. And when he said, you know, would you like a chat show? And the next day I was in front of the camera, and it was, I didn't even think twice. It was so comfortable and so natural. And the stories that come through, it feels like he has handpicked which story he wants to appear every day.
Yes. Yeah, that's how even I feel. In fact, each month, when I come out with the table of contents, I really don't know what to, really don't know. I sit with that sheet, and then suddenly the topics just start emerging, you know, and they just, because each issue is a special, it's focused on something. And like for example, the October issue is focused on Mother Goddess worship, and I had no clue as to what I should be dealing with over there. And this is a country which, to my great surprise, I found that we have 5 times 10 days of worship of the Mother Goddess in this country. It was a huge discovery. I had no clue about it. And this is what I mean, enriching myself, and through that enriching the whole world.
Now, were you raised in Hinduism? Were
Yes.
you? Okay.
I'm a born and raised Hindu. But we are really at home. It was more like on my father's side, they are Hanuman worshippers. My mother's are more guru focused, and that's another interesting thing I must share. What was the reason that delayed my coming to Swamiji? Is that our family had a guru by the name Nithyananda. And he is, we called him Bhagwan Nithyananda of Ganeshpuri. And in fact, that was one of the first questions I asked Swamiji in the IA, who was he? And he clarified to me that he was a great Avaduta. So for me, without knowing it, the first and the biggest completion I needed to do in my IA was with Guru and God. Because for me, it was the inability to break out of, I was carrying a strong guilt about having to move out of the family guru. I felt I was doing a great injustice, and that's what kept me away. And I didn't realize that till I came into the program. Till then, it didn't even strike me that I'm supposed to look for a living master.
Because that is what Swamiji says.
Yeah.
He's not telling you to throw out your old guru, but your guru has probably led you to someone in the body, because the direct initiation has to be biomemory to biomemory. There has to be a physical touch for a lot of these initiations to take hold. So same way I was following Paramahamsa Yogananda, and obviously he's the one that brought me here.
That's right, yeah. I guess that's what happened in my case. And but I didn't realize that was the first major completion I needed to do. And once I did that, then there was a real sense of peace. And today in my purse, I carry a picture of Bhagwan Nithyananda, which is a family guru, as also of Swamiji, as also of Meenakshi, which was gifted to me by a friend. And I'm learning. For me, I'm every day, every moment is an enriching. Just like I think most of the devotees who come here, for them every moment, and I guess every day is, they keep learning something new and new and new. It's discovering more and more about a faith I was born in, but I realized I really knew nothing about. And also retracing the richness of our own country and of our own civilization.
Well, like you say, just rediscovering your own faith, because it was already locked into you, and you were born into a family. You picked a family that was Hindu,
yes,
and so it was already in your biomemory. So he was just able to clarify for you, how do you live that teaching, instead of it being And what I see in the West is a lot of people who get into religions, it's just a superficial waving things and chanting just to say they're doing it, as if it's a safety net in case there really is a God. When I die, I can say, well, I went to church every day, or it's not done with heart. Whereas this tradition is a lifestyle, which I find so much easier to follow because it shows you how to live.
Correct. And for me, I've known it at the back of my mind that it is celebratory, but in terms the amount of celebration, it's incredible. In fact, so much so that my late husband actually made a statement. My God, this country is constantly celebrating, because he used to be quite fed up. One festival would get over and the next one was on. Saying, what is this? But I think here I find that it's even more. So it's literally like every moment and every day is a celebration, and that's, I guess, the most joyous aspect of being Hindu that I find.
Well, and what I realized too was we'd forgotten that. We become so enraptured by the dollar that if you couldn't justify what you did every minute of the day, like as far as the bottom line, what you made, that you had no right to go party. Whereas here it's reminding you the other way, that life is a celebration, and if you've got time to fit in business, then the cosmos takes care of it. It makes sure that the 15 hours a week that you might be available to work, that it pays for everything. We've got the context wrong.
Yeah. In fact, it's very interesting. I was part of the IT industry and successful. And I couldn't figure out why I'm just like that. And I have to say here, I never had to work hard. Challenges would just fall into my lap, and I was getting promotions, I would get stock options, and the money happened, the car happened. And yet there was such a deep sense of void. I wasn't unhappy, that I must say, in the sense I was really enjoying my job and my work, but there was still a void. And said, why is all this happening to me? As if there was a constant search for something beyond this. I'm sure life is more than this. And that's why I just literally walked out of my career at the age of 42. I just walked out. I said, life can't be just this money and this car, and it just comes, and there has to be more. But it took me a very long time, considering at the age of 42 I left my career. It took me a very long time to come to.
But that's still a huge step, because you would have gone against all of society's approved.
Absolutely, because it was such a cushy job, as we call it. There was a car, I could stay in the most luxurious of places and flying all the time. You were sent there were cars to pick you up, and somebody else filed your returns. I didn't have to worry about anything. And there would be parties and, all kinds of things. And I just walked out, and my boss was shocked. He's saying, what are you doing? You're at the threshold of a huge jump. And I said, and it was very interesting. I actually made a statement at that time. I'm finding my space. I'm trying to find my space, was a statement I made so many years ago. And I had no clue why I said it. And now I know, whenever I feel so happy whenever I come to the Sangha.
But I bet that statement has haunted your boss. Ever since he heard that, I bet that plays in his head so often, like, what did she mean by that?
And I had no clue why I use a word like space. I'm trying to find my space, at that time. And now, I guess I'm still finding it, but I feel so much more comfortable where I am and in here. And even now, even within my family, where I have turned vegetarian to the extent of, my dog has been made Sattvic vegetarian. And my brothers are like just flabbergasted. They said, okay, you want to be whatever. How can you do it to the dog? I mean, but I said, whoever told you that, they're meant to eat non-vegetarian. I said, she has become so much more active and frisky. I'm amazed with what it
really, she's got more energy now.
Lot more energy. She's so healthy. And I don't do anything much with her. She gets just this very simple food, but it is 100% sattvic. She's more sattvic than me in the sense sometimes I cheat. I could have a bit of garlic here or an onion there, but she is 100% sattvic. To the extent I have told my the chauffeur or whoever, so even by mistake, if you're eating non-veg, by mistake also you're not giving her. But she has become so much more bouncy and energetic, and I didn't expect that actually. Luckily she was still a puppy when I was transitioning her.
Nice.
Once I returned from the IA, I was personally convinced that I really want to be permanently on the thing. But I must say, it's a single little battle that I fight in my entire family and friends, because barring a few, everybody is non-vegetarian. So it has become a task, especially if I'm visiting people. They go into a frenzy, what do we feed you? And I tell them, listen, don't be too concerned about that. You don't have to break anything just for my sake. Dal, rice will take care, but I'm definitely not breaking what I have chosen to be.
And that's what I found going back to Canada is I'm from a cattle industry province, and everyone eats red meat. So it's really astonishing that sorry, we're just having trouble seeing our cue.
3 minutes.
Gotcha. And same thing, I realized the last time I was back in Canada, I thought, I'm done. Like, I really don't belong here anymore. It was just such an effort to be in that world that I thought, it's official, I'm what is Swamiji calls spiritual freaks. We all belong here together.
Yeah, I think that's how they look at me, everyone. Like I'm some kind of a freak. And in fact, it's a very strange thing that I find people who are non-vegetarians, when they hear about vegetarianism, they ask, where do you get your proteins? I mean, this is a funny part that I hear. And now I use what Swamiji said, wherever the elephant gets it from. That's a word. That's what I now say, and they just look at me.
Elephants, gorillas, like there's so many examples in the animal world.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
So with that, we will close on time for our tech crew. But it's been such a pleasure, and I'm going to have to get you on again, because this I think was the tip of a beautiful journey, and it's so lovely working in the office with you.
Thank you so
for
much.
coming
I
on.
love being here. So we can always look forward to more such sessions together.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Thank you so
Usha.
much.
With that, we'll close with the Purna mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Satguru Paduka Paramastu. Om Nithyanandam.